What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel for another square golf, and for this one, a GSPro test where we are testing, at least for me, what I feel like is the most accurate as far as my club distances go, my stock yardages, what I feel is the most accurate elevation or altitude within GSPro. So this test comes courtesy of Bogeyman Bill. Major shout out to Bogeyman Bill for all the support you show the channel. Not only a subscriber, pops into a lot of the live streams, but he is also a member of the channel. So really appreciate that. Bogeyman Bill, and I know a lot of you out there play SGT or a lot of like online games, leagues, different stuff where you're unable to tweak the altitude. So ever since I had GS Pro, I was kind of all over the place. There was a little bit of an adjustment period with the Garmin R10, but I eventually settled on 2,000 feet of altitude or elevation, mainly because ever since I had the R10, all my wedges were good. Pitching wedge was good. 9-iron was pretty good, but really at the top end of my 9-iron when I swing hard, and then 8-iron into my longer clubs, I always felt like the longer clubs, the Garmin struggled a little bit with distances. So I used the 2,000 feet just to bump up the longer clubs just a little bit more. And from what I understand, the rule of thumb is every 1,000 feet of altitude or elevation you go up, that equates to about 2% of distance. So far in my limited testing, again, this is only day 4.5 of having it. So far, I found that the 10% distance ball within the Square software, you have three options. You have the, I think, regular ball, whatever the names are, but it's basically 0%, 5%, and 10%. So far, I found that the 10% for me is the most accurate. I may end up settling on 5% when I feel a little bit better and take more shots. I have hit probably close to 2,000 shots since I've had this thing, so I didn't hit a ton yesterday purposely so I could kind of do some of this stuff, but I did just do a video before. I did take a decent amount of swings, but I had a good amount of shots that were up towards my regular stock yardages, which I would expect. So it's my understanding that when you go over to GS Pro and you're using the Square, it defaults back down to 0% for the connector. So that's why we're going to test this. So I originally started off at 5,000 feet within GS Pro, just so I could match up the 2% per thousand. So the 2% times the 5,000 would put me at the 10%. I feel like that was a little bit long. Worked my way down to 4,000. Still thought maybe, based on the way I was hitting it, was maybe still a little bit long. And now so far, I've settled on 3,000, which seems pretty close. Again, this is still early. But for this test, what we're going to do, like I said, for the Simulated Golf Tour, SGT, other online matches, stuff where you're not able to, you have to use the course settings, however the course is set up. We're going to drop this down to 0. And the best way that I know how to do this is, again, I'm not a robot. I'm definitely not a professional golfer, as you could tell. So I'm going to try my best to hit these as good as I can. And for me, what I feel like I know my numbers with and I can hit most accurately are my pitching wedge, my 9-iron, and my 8-iron. So usually my pitching wedge, it's right in the neighborhood of about 130, 135 total. My 9-iron is in the neighborhood of 150, 155 total. And my 8-iron is in the neighborhood of 160, 165 total. Again, a little bit thin, a little bit fat. It's going to vary from there, but that's usually right in the neighborhood of what I expect. And if I pull that club on course, that's what I play it to. Same thing when I've been using the Garmin. So I guess just as a reference point, I am using the TaylorMade P770s. I have a combo set. So approach wedge through 7-iron are the TaylorMade P770s, and then 4, 5, and 6-iron are the P790s. But let's get into it. So I guess we're going to start at 0 and then slowly work our way up. I guess we'll go 0, maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, or we could even go 0, 1,500, and 3,000, maybe somewhere in between. But I think Bill's main concern, and a lot of you out there, is just what kind of distances, how short I feel it is on the 0, and we'll test it out. So we'll set it to 0 here. And I did make the video smaller. You guys should be seeing me in the lower left just so you can see all these different metrics with the vertical, launch angle, the horizontal. No club speed here, but I do have all the stickers. Earlier today, I put all the stickers on all my clubs. So we should be getting, with just the regular ball, I'm using a regular Callaway Chrome Soft ball, should be getting side spin numbers, club path numbers, face numbers, all that kind of stuff. So let's see what we can do here. May take me a couple shots to get back into it, but starting off with the pitching wedge, again, usually I expect to see 130, 135 total, and maybe maybe I'll learn something here. Maybe default further back down on the GSPro altitude and elevation. But pitching wedge, a little bit chunky on that one. Don't feel like that was my full 130, 135. So we got 112 carry, 116. Again, it's going to be, I mean, it's dependent on, I'm still don't feel like I'm at a complete 100%, but I want to get this out there for Bill because he's been debating getting the score possibly, but want to get this out there. We had some side spin numbers. We had backspin, angle of attack, all that kind of stuff. You guys can pause the video if you want and look at some of those. But the best I can do is just try to feel like I hit something really good and see the numbers that we get. Still a little bit chunky, but that one should be a little bit further, I would think. So 114, 118. So far, we're about 15 yards short, so the 10% would be another 11 yards. That would put us up to about 129. Bit chunky and toey. To me, still, these have been the best strikes, but 111 total with a pretty full swing with a pitching wedge to me seems a bit short, but we'll keep going. That was hit a little bit better. All right, 125 total on that one. That was probably the cleanest out of all of them. If anything, a little bit thin, but right at about 125. So still a little bit short. That felt like probably the best swing out of all of them. To me, just a little bit short. That should have been probably about 10 yards further, I think, based on that strike. It is worth noting, this does still depend. I think that one probably, it launched left. And do we get side spin? 230. My projector's not the best, so it's kind of tough to read some of these numbers. What was the spin axis? So that was to the right. It is worth noting, like I was about to say, that I still don't have my start line completely figured out. I lined it up today to this ripple I've done that the past 2 days in the screen. So it's about an inch and a half over from this grommet right here is where I feel like center is. At least that's how I lined it up to. But so far on 0 seems a little bit short. Let's hit some 9 irons. Again, 9 iron should be in the neighborhood of about 150, 155 total. Occasionally, I mean, hit it chunky, don't hit it great. 130, 140. Pretty rare. I'm in the 130s. Has to be a really bad strike, but catch it a little bit thin, or I really flush one, could get up to about 160. But let's see what we get here. Felt like a decent strike. And we're about 137. So that would be closer to like a decent strike with my pitching wedge usually. So based on that one, we're about a club short, which again, if we bumped it up 10%, that would be 13, and that would put us right at 151, which I would expect on something like that. But we'll hit a couple more. That was a shank. Tell you what though, it does pick it up. If you shank one, you really slice one, you really hook one, it's going to show you, especially with these club stickers. Better strike again. A little bit of a pull. May go a bit further. We had some left side spin. But only about 142. So that one, based on that strike, considering I pulled it and some left side spin, should have rolled out a little bit more. And usually the draws of the pulls and the hooks go a bit further. To me, that should have been closer to, again, probably 157, 158. And if you add 10% on that, that would put us up to 156, which to me seems like that would be closer to what that is. We'll hit one more 9 iron. We'll go to the 8 iron, and then I'll go 0, 1500, and then 3000. I think the 3000 maybe still be a little bit too high, so I guess we could go 1000 or 2000. But Bill's main concern was what I feel like I'm getting at 0% or 0 elevation or altitude added. That was a clean strike again. I have a feeling that'll show about 140, 145. Yeah, 141. That felt like, again, that should have been close to my, especially with the left side spin again. Again, this has to do with where I'm starting it and all that kind of stuff, but that should have been all of about 150, 155. So let's try some 8 irons. So far, to me, it seems like we're about 10% short. I just find it hard to believe that 9 iron with some decent strikes are only about 140, but 8 iron, again, should be about 160, 165 total. I'm not good enough, and I kind of account for some bounces and whatnot, so I'm not good enough to play to my exact carry numbers. I always just go to my total distance and account for a little bit of rollout or whatnot. So that's kind of how I play, but should be in the neighborhood of 160, 165. I was a little bit pulley, a little bit toey. Went pretty far left, but now, so I mean, basically more of the story was we're almost a club short. So that was 152. That would be closer to what I would expect out of the 9 iron that I just hit. And again, with being a kind of a pulled draw on that, that should have been even further. Starting in these too far left. Still only about 152. That was hit the hardest. Should be about 155, I would think. 158. So that's closer, but I mean, that one I felt like I hit hard, and with the left side spin, that one would have, from what that felt like, should have been closer to 165, 170. Usually I don't flush them quite as good as that, but that one should have been, if you're looking at any of the ball speeds, whatever, that one should have been higher ball speed than the last couple, because that one felt the best with contact-wise. But I mean, 158, that's not too bad. Again, I don't feel like I'm at 100% swing-wise, but let's bump it up. I won't hit as many because the main test here was Bill wanted to see where I was at with the 0 altitude, which I think is still just a little bit short. But we'll go 1,000 feet, which should put us a little bit closer. So again, 1,000 feet, every 1,000 is about 2%. So this should give me a 2% boost, which 1% on that would be 10% would be 15. So 1.5, that would be an extra 3 yards. So that would put me into the low 160s on that. But we'll go back to pitch and wedge. And again, 130, 135. This should put us a bit closer, but I have a feeling this still may be a little bit short. A little bit thin on that. Thin and heely. 125 on that strike is closer because that wasn't the best strike. I have a feeling we'll get on some decent strikes, maybe low 130s here. And then it may end up being 2,000 is what I settle on. A little bit chunky, but I feel like I hit it a little bit harder. Still only 126. No side spin on that one. $126. That was the cleanest strike out of them. A little bit of right side spin. 125, 128. Hit a couple 9s. So still a little bit short. To me, that one was closer. Should have been at least 130, if not my 135 on that one. We did have the right side spin, which would be a little bit less in the air because it spins a bit more. Generally speaking, fade spin to the right. It's not going to go quite as far as you have some negative side spin to the left. But again, 9 iron should be 150, 155 on a pretty standard, decent strike. A little bit thin on that one, which, again, it's not to where I'm trying to massage these numbers, but like on a thin strike, like definitely I'm long and short on the course. So like if I hit one really thin, there's times on course like you should be long. It shouldn't always just be short, which is why I still think that we need to go up a little bit. But like if you catch one really thin going into a green, you're possibly going to airmail the green and come up a little bit long. But so far we haven't had anything, even on a little bit of a thin strike, anything that comes up closer to the distances or even a little bit longer. That was thin. Again, thin strikes, you never know sometimes too. Thin strikes can lead to lower ball speed, could also lower spin, which run out more. Kind of tough to tell. That one rolled out 6 yards. That was the best strike. Again, it feels like I'm swinging pretty hard. 147. That one should have been at least 150, 155. That was the best strike out of all of them. Plus with the left side spin. We'll go to 8 iron. So we're closer, but we're not quite there, I don't think. At least what I play my clubs to. 8 iron should be 160, 165, which I don't think we'll get. Maybe we'll creep up to 160, but tad low in the face, but relatively clean strike. And 153. Decent strike again. A little bit further on this one. 158. That one, I felt like I hit that decent. Again, that should have, I mean, we're close to 160, but to me, that would have felt like something maybe I would have expected to see 163, 165, 167, something like that. A little bit heely on that one, but it wasn't terrible. Probably won't go quite as far. 159. All right, let's bump it up another 1,000. So we started at 0. We just did 1,000. Now we're at 2,000. This should be pretty close, I would think. Back to the pitching wedge. Again, expecting to see anywhere around 130, 135, 140 if I hit it thin and pretty hard. 125, catch it a little bit chunky, even 120. But it should be in there based on how I feel like the strike is. And a lot of the point is sometimes you feel like maybe you hit something, but then the numbers show you differently. So can't always just go by feel. But pitching wedge. That was thin and heely. All right, that one rolled out to 131. We're close. 2,000 may be the number. Bit low on the face again, but we're up into 133. That's pretty close. That's, if I just fired up GSPro and I got that based on that swing, I would say, yeah, it's pretty good. Didn't catch that one great. which again, a little bit shorter, that makes sense. Catching these a little bit towards the heel. A little bit of a pull, but that was the best strike. That one should be closer to 135 on the rollout. And 136. So, to me, I think we're there, or at least we're close to it. Possibly maybe 25 I settle on. I think 3 may even be a little bit too much. Again, I started at 5, thought that was a little bit long, went down to 4. I'll get it dialed in here, but we're a lot closer now in the ballpark. So let's hit the 9-iron. Should be seeing numbers in the 150, 155 range. That was thin and heely. And based on that strike, that wasn't a very good strike. 142, that seems about right. Or 143. Also thin and partial Hosel on that. That's going to be even shorter. Which again, at least the feel's matching up on these. I know the first strike wasn't very good. That one was even worse. That one went even shorter. Alright, that one was hit a lot better. That should be low 150s. 147. Possible fatigue's already creeping in here on top of it, but 143. Still a little bit chunky on some of those. Oh, that was even worse. Hosel. Staying true to my name. Thin and heely. That was hit better. A little bit of a pull. Still a little bit chunky as well. But there we have it. 155 on that one. To me, that one was compressed a little bit better. And with the pull, that's pretty close. Let's try some 8-irons. Wouldn't have been surprised though, maybe even a touch more, maybe 157, 158 on that. But we're pretty close. 8-iron, should be seeing in the 160s. Still afraid to swing out that way. Still heely, but 158. Toey, but that was a little bit of a better strike. Should be 160-ish. 163. We're right in there. We're within the margin of error. A little bit of a pull, but that was hit decent again. That one could be 165 with the left spin. 165.5. So, I mean, we're close. Again, whether I need to go up, we can just try it for the sake of it. We'll go up to 3,000. Whether I settle on 2,000, 2,500, So right now this is going to be 3,000. So that's going to be 246%. And again, you can see the numbers from the square, the carried raw. That's coming directly from the square at 0%. So carried raw, we got an extra 6 yards from the altitude on that one, and then the rollout. The ball does roll out more. This green, or the practice range here within GSPro, is firmer than the practice range, driving range on square. So that's part of it. Because I mean, that one rolled out, what was that, 7 yards? You're not going to get quite as much rollout on the square. But let's go to the pitching wedge here now that we're at 3,000. I just want to see it though. Again, if I catch something a little bit thin with some lower spin, may roll out a little bit more. Just so if I catch it thin like I do, like if I'm playing GSPro courses, maybe I airmail the green, or it hits the front of the green and rolls all the way to the back, something like that. But if everything's consistently short, makes you kind of wonder. .135. Again, if I just fired it up like this, I would say, I mean, we're right there. 123 from the square, 129 in the game. 25 may be the number. That was a better strike. That should be right around 135. 136. All right, try some 9 irons. That was hit decent. Should be 155-ish. 156. And again, whether I'm at 3,000 or 2,500, that's only 1%. So that would be 1.5 yards on that, which is very, very minimal. Not much really to complain about there. That was Healy. That one's going to be short right. Felt that one. And we are short right. Still 9 iron here. That was hit better again. Should be 150, 155. Almost 151. So we're right there, folks. We are right there. Honestly, I'll probably use 2,500, 3,000 for a couple rounds, and then if I have to, I'll adjust from there, whether I feel like if I'm hitting it really good or really bad. But I mean, it's going to help if I take a couple days off and really rest up. But there should be the case where, same thing on course or if you're at the driving range, some days you just hit it better than others. So there should be days where I come out here and I'm hitting it 5 or 10 yards longer across the bag, just kind of out of nowhere. And then there'll be other days where I'm hitting it 5, 10 yards shorter, just for a variety of reasons, whether it's sleep, working out, eating bad food, my body's sore, have an injury, whatever the case may be. But once I settle on a number, I'll have more faith in whatever I'm getting for that day. And again, once I settle on something, I don't tweak it from day to day saying, oh, well, usually I hit this 135, so today I'm not swinging it as much and I got to bump it up. Once I settle on a number, I just leave it. And if I'm hitting it good that day or hitting it bad that day, so be it. But 8 iron now. That was hit pretty good. That should be, again, 160, 165, maybe even a little bit more. 165.8. Hosel, or at least partial. That's only going to be about. That's actually probably a little bit generous based on how I hit that. That wasn't a complete shank, but that just felt and sounded terrible. But that was about 5, 10 yards short based on that strike. A little bit thin, but it wasn't horrendous. Again, I'm still swinging pretty hard at these. And that one should have been a little bit lower spinning, so because I hit it thin, got a little bit extra distance. So I think we're right there, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I think the moral of the story here is if you have to use and you're playing SGT and you have no help with the altitude, personally, what I feel, you guys can have your own opinion on it, whether you think I hit these distances or not. You're entitled to your opinion, but personally, I think it's a little bit short, just going over straight from square to GS Pro. And personally, I think right around this 2,500, 3,000 elevation or altitude number, at least for me, seems the most accurate. But let me know down below. Shout out to Bogeyman Bill. Let me know if you have any other tests that you'd like to see me do, any other comments, questions, concerns. It is fun kind of testing out things. And again, I try my best, not feeling still 100%, but I'm not a robot. You saw a bunch of those shanks. Can't hit the same shot over and over again, unfortunately. I wish I could. But this is the best I could do for this type of test. And I think moral of the story, like I said, is you're going to be a little bit short, possibly close to a club short at the 0 altitude. And then as you work your way up 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, should get closer. And I'd be curious if you guys do this test, if you find something similar. But let me know if I can talk. Let me know down in the comments if you do a similar test. And like I always leave you guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.